We're here with three coffee legends from the world. So we've got, on the right-hand side, we've got Ben Kaminsky, who's flown in all the way from San Francisco. Ben is the 3 times National Cup Tasting Champion of the US and runs a very successful coffee consultancy business out of San Francisco. One of the others we have here is Dan Yee. Dan Yee placed second in the 2013 National Brewers Cup competition and has cut his teeth in some of the best coffee places in Australia. And then we have Paul Geshos. Paul Geshos has probably had influence on probably most of Australia's influential coffee people. So right from the very top, right the way down. Very influential guy in the Australian coffee scene. So guys, welcome. Welcome to Sydney,
Phil.
to Alexandria.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Just wondering if we'd just kick off maybe a subject about sort of what you guys see as being some of the most influential trends that are evolving in international coffee right now. So, Ben, do you want to kick off with what you think?
Yeah, certainly, just really creating efficient systems that support consistency at high speed, for the busiest coffee bars. That's a huge one in the States right now. Just building systems that reinforce quality at high volume. That's definitely a huge one.
Right, right. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, it's definitely true. Lots of new tools and techniques, and I think these things always go through a trial stage. They've always got to be trialed and tested, and some just fall by the wayside. But I think it's important not to get wrapped up too much in those.
Not getting sucked into the vortex.
Not getting sucked into it, the vortex.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to. Yeah, trends like that, and also with different milks, alternatives to dairy, so many. Like I can't keep up. Yeah, and then trying to get your head around the consistency with those,
Right.
and try and I guess like the challenge of meeting people where they're at, but challenging them with new, trying to get people who are stuck in their ways to try something new, and then actually convince yourself that it's better too, and not just at the cup level, but sustainability level, water wastage, how do you process almonds, say? What do you do with them afterwards?
Right.
Where do they come from? All that. We have that with the cows.
Right. So Paul's got a couple of very successful retail outlets, and he also has a successful wholesale business as well. So you've probably got a lot of cut through from sort of like the processing, growing, processing, roasting, retailing, consumption, like the whole value chain. So,
Yeah.
Well, what are you seeing as the trends that are happening now?
Trend, I would say more challenge would be water. I think
Right.
for us, that is our sort of main focal point at the moment, and seeing how, coffee flavors translate through different water profiles. And what we've seen is throughout the whole country, we've got very, very different water sources, different, I guess, components of sodium, potassium, magnesium, and the influence that has on the coffee flavor. Is it a trend?
Yeah, I would say that it's something that has really come into focus just across the industry, that the importance of water, of water chemistry specifically. That's right.
And it's not even in our city, we've got multiple water sources. So whether it's coming from Warragamba Dam or
Exactly.
any other places, it will have a huge influence.
Yeah, dramatic.
And it can make things taste amazing and really make things taste not so desirable.
Right, that's right.
So if you've got those sorts of like systems and qualitative measures around sort of the espresso side of things, how do you see the milk side of things like being looked after? Because it still seems to be, you've still got a 9-litre steam boiler and a steam wand and a valve and just you've got some dairy product or non-dairy product and a steam wand. There's no real measure about how to get consistency in the output. Yeah, so do you see any change there at all?
I hope so. like surely that's an easy one to address, and especially with the number of milk drinks that are being made, with all the different milks that, you know, there's not one temperature for all milks that is going to be its sweet point or whatever. Technology has to come into that.
Right.
Like I mean, the steam has been the thing forever, and how far has extraction technology come? But steam hasn't, really.
People are focusing on making, you know, steam boilers that produce drier steam just generally, or hotter steam, such that, you know, you can add less water to the milk, you know, while you're steaming the milk. So the effect is that you get this creamier beverage, richer, and one that's less diluted.
So isn't that what you're developing? You're doing a system, probably not like the steam at all, but from what we saw from some blind tasting we did a few weeks back,
Yeah.
where there is a system to heat milk, expand, you know, create foam without any water or any steam at all.
Yeah, we are working on that technology. We showcased it at the WBC last year in Seoul when Hugh Kelly, the national barista champion from Australia, used that system. So that's a system that uses a mechanical action to sort of shear the milk and introduce air into the milk body and volumize it, but in the same way that a barista would do it with a steam wand, but with greater consistency and control. And then the heating comes from using induction as opposed to heating it with just basically the latent heat from steam. So
Right.
it is a new technology that we're working on. How we're going to commercialise it is a very different question. You know,
Yeah.
some of these things are great in theory. You can prove the principles and you can deliver them in one-off devices, but commercialisation and industrialisation of it is a very different question. So,
Right, actually putting that into production.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, can you talk a little bit more about that, or is it something that you you don't want to go down that?
look, all I can say that is like you hit on the major points that that it doesn't introduce any water into the textured heated result.
Right.
So you get there's zero dilution.
Zero dilution.
So you get a much.
Whereas, you know, like 10+% of the weight of the milk in water would be
Yeah.
normal.
That's normal in a commercial or
Yeah.
Right.
it's like that's low for a domestic machine. But yeah, so as we call it, the milk cloud, it's technology where you don't add any water at all, so you get the mouthfeel is like far creamier. You've got a much more tactile drink experience. And the other thing about it is it's like the surface of the milk holds up for much longer, so it's obviously maintaining that microfoam, that structure for much longer than the conventional methods that we're using now.
Right.
So
And top to bottom in the cup, not just
Yeah.
the top bit. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
Unreal.
So the texture is
Yep.
right the way through the beverage. It's not that head and body
Right.
situation over time. It seems to hold up. So I know you guys have had experience with the oracles. I think are you installing them into some office? small
we
office
are
accounts?
exactly. Yeah, and they're loving them, and
Yeah.
even restaurants.
Restaurants.
are taking them
It's
on
like-
too. It is. It's such a great solution. I mean, because I think there's a level of quality that I think is expected, and which you would normally have to, you know, install a commercial machine to be able to
Exactly.
do this, then do the training. I mean, the Oracle Touch is what we've been working with, where you can pretty much dial in recipes for different coffees that you might want, and to be able to deliver that sort of consistency of milk it's kind of hard to teach on these small volume accounts because you generally have a high turnover of staff and
Yeah.
And they have a lot of staff.
they have a lot of staff, and then you've got the chefs that want to come in and kind of make coffee themselves, and to have that as a solution was huge. I mean, it was a big eye opener for me. I didn't see that as big a problem as it was.
Yeah.
this is just changing that mindset. I think little bit of a struggle, but not really. I guess as far as people going, they see these shiny stainless steel Italian machines that, and everyone wants it with a heat exchange sticking out where they're burning themselves and, no control.
Yeah.
Where, you have to have someone who actually has some sort of knowledge on how to pull an espresso and steam to do it, a barista who's been trained.
Yeah.
And people have these in their homes. They look nice. I've seen the trend of people moving away from those and going, oh, I actually want the ease of making a coffee in the morning, because no one wants to dial a coffee in when they're half asleep.
No.
And I think getting from that commercial machine to, an appliance can actually do everything for you, but get the same quality that you would in a cafe. That's the bridge.
This is the expectation, though, isn't it? Consumers expect to be able to replicate what they had in one of your, bars outside. They expect to be able to replicate that at home anytime they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, without burning through half a kilo of coffee diet.
Right. That is the quintessential previous experience of making espresso at home. I think any of us would say that we would never have an espresso machine in our homes because we know what it takes to get to where we would want to drink it.
Yeah.
And having that experience with the Oracle of just having the majority of that process be automated and then really only needing to interact with those points that, where you're really controlling the quality, picking the grind size, picking the extraction time, that is really all you do. That was the thing that I really noticed about the Oracle Touch, just that you could just throw the milk pitcher underneath the steam wand and really get perfect results with no effort by just pushing a button.
We're doing a lot more of that sort of science-validated type stuff as well. So, you guys sat in on that panel. So, we're engaging, outside experts to, design, I suppose, testing protocols that will be robust when you review the data and, get industry professionals in that can really sort of drill down on every single nuance that the consumer's going to experience that may not be able to articulate.
Yeah.
So by you
or
guys,
even necessarily notice.
Well, that somehow it's impacting their experience, but they don't know that it's happening. Whereas you get someone who's got a very tuned-in palate, a vocabulary that is able to articulate their experiences. It really helps you narrow down on sort of that whole what you need to do to the product to deliver a better outcome. If you read the reviews of online of products like the Oracle Touch, consumers do say that a lot. It's there's no need for me to ever go to a cafe again. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But they do say that. It's finally I'm able to replicate my cafe experience at home, but I didn't need to know how to be a barista. Just to close off, so just each of you could just describe how you think the future of coffee is looking in your various geography through your own lens.
As far as just the future of coffee goes, the thing that jumps to mind, straight away is just effects of climate change on the industry. It's just the most pressing issue by far. It's going to affect everyone, really dramatically, the farmers most of all, that are producing the coffee in these, much poorer countries. And, we all source very high quality coffees, and those generally come from places of higher elevation, cooler climates, and that's a really important part to the development of high quality coffee. Of course, coffee is coming from a plant. As those temperatures warm in those climates, many factors come along with it, pests and bacterias, molds, and all these different things that can affect the trees. So that, is along with, just every part of the world, climate change is really threatening the industry, and the sustainability of the industry. That is the biggest thing, not to sound so dire, but that's
a real thing.
It's very much the thing that is for our part of the industry sort of constant topic of discussion. And
Yeah, it gets a lot of industry focus, not a lot of consumer focus.
of course, yeah, for sure.
What about you, Dan? How do you see coffee through the lens that you view the world?
Yeah, I guess even flowing on from that, you know, at the bar end of the scale, or the roasting, you know, we can only make a good a coffee as is available, and if we're depleting that in a negative or like in a really bad way, and we're not doing anything to support that, yeah, we can only work with what we have. So from a bar level, it's almost it doesn't. I don't think it stops with just the baristas necessarily or the roasters. I think it's got to be communicated to the consumers. They're the ones paying for it. Yeah, it's got to go further than just at the bar. It's got to go further. That education, which is with everything, with how the quality of coffee has progressed. It's that communication of why we're doing this thing that might be a little bit different, why this is a better way to go.
Right.
Just that communication. I think, yeah, it's often just the alienation and the elitism that some baristas can put forward, and making customers feel stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
But actually,
We've all seen that, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's brutal.
It's
And,
embarrassing.
it's embarrassing, you know, and you kind of want to meet people where they're at, and people
Yeah.
are still people, and we can communicate this stuff, and that's what we need to do, I think.
And what about you, Paulie? How do you see the health of the coffee nation through your lens?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this is a thing that we're sort of all talking about right now. And I mean, it's not just a new thing. I think it's something that has been ongoing for many years. And I think for us, our responsibility is really trying to work with people who, you know, can affect some sort of change on the ground, and choosing where to buy coffee and where not to buy coffee.
Right.
Really encouraging organic production of coffee. I mean, I think that's something that's a big, it's a bit of a risk take for a lot of producers, because I think there's an immediate hit on yield.
That's right.
But it has long-term benefits. I mean,
Yeah.
that's only part of the story. So for us, it's really, I mean, we're sort of internalizing this, but we also have the ability to, you know, open the doors to the consumers from our perspective and show them what we care about. And we can only do this on a sort of company level, is be able to sort of, you know, curate, I guess, what we do through the lens of that.
Yeah.
With all this in mind, you know, working with producers that aren't necessarily just going for high yield, you know, factory farms.
Yeah.
But, you know, sort of working on sort of minimal intervention, you know, farming that can sort of sustain. You know, they're actually adding more back into the soil than removing.
Then they're taking out, yeah.
And so that farm will, you know, be able to thrive for generations. And that's something we've been mindful of when we're working with coffee
Sourcing
producers.
coffee, yeah.
So I think that's a small contribution. I know there's a bigger problem with climate change that I think, you know, ties in with all of this. But yeah, I think, you know, we have to start with, you know, what we can do and what we can affect within ourselves.
Yeah. Guys, it's thanks so much for coming by today. It's been great to host you and catch up with the three of you. I get to see these guys quite a lot. Ben, I don't get to see you too much, maybe once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
Phil.
Cheers.
Cheers.